Only when you truly need it and when the time is right, the information will come to you. The whole time you feel like, well, you are the tree. I don't know how to explain this.
You experience the tree.
You experience the tree. If you change your perception of things and look at it from another point of view, it can appear in an absolutely positive way.
How did you experience it?
Then I remember you told me something I couldn't explain to myself. It was, a lot of people will disappear from your life. Imagine a beam flowing from above with information and only that. I can't explain it how it is. I mean, there are no words for these things. I imagine it like this. Tomorrow I'm in his place, right? I am him. Tomorrow I'm in his place, and now when I let his go, I'm letting myself go. There's one thing that made an impression on me, that sometimes with me, it's stronger than faith. What do I know?
If you want to sit here next to me on these magical chairs and be one of the next guests on Reality Explorers, write to the email inratimgmail.com or share with Choco Gmail. Come and write your story, share it, or whatever you want to reach people. About your transformation, your awakening, your realization about what reality is, or more precisely, what realities are. Feel free to come and talk. A person sees and experiences the world according to their own frame of reference. But if the assemblage point shifts enough, it merges with the whole. A new world that is just as real and objective as the one normally perceived. This is a quote from the wisdom of the Toltecs, which was prompted by our guest today, who has come especially to tell us about some of this wisdom, about the power of plants as a tool for deeper understanding of who we are, a topic that has never been discussed before on our channel, and especially from someone who has truly experienced it and has real life experience. And as medicine, as a way of healing, simply as an additional and very interesting way to get to know ourselves, and much more. Welcome, I say to my friend Nasco, whom I have saved in my phone as Nasco from the Toltecs, but he has much more than just the wisdom of the Toltecs within him. He has experienced many things, and we definitely won't have enough time to talk about them all today. Welcome to the Reality Investigator.
Thank you, Varel, and thank you very much for the invitation. That's why I should introduce myself, I suppose.
I suppose even more.
Yes. All right, Emmy, my name is Tanas Vilner, and I work on car interiors, 29 years. I don't even know if I can imagine doing anything else anymore. This has been my childhood dream, to do something like this, and I managed to turn my hobby into a profession. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you can say that I'm somehow known in certain circles, this is the place where people know me.
Yes, actually, our meeting is very interesting. Regarding work, she had to bring and pick up an internal part for a car. And because of that, you actually got involved in our work and said, or they told you, do you know who came? And from there, you bought me a coffee and we had a little chat. And you actually said, if I may quote you, you said, you're one of us, something you use often. Yes, how did you discover this whole world? How did it all start? You have a passion for cars, for creating in them and with them. And how did you discover the other world? Of the conscious person, of the spiritual person, of the one who has an experience, who experiences?
Well, one is creation and the other is creation, really, when you look at it. How I discovered it, I'm not sure if I discovered it or if it discovered me, because most people say they go through some kind of cataclysms, bad things happen to them, and so on. And then it's like they suddenly see the light. While for me, it wasn't like that at all. After that, I felt perfect. I've always been fine and happy. And just in getting to know someone in Mallorca in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. It was this person, by the way. Back then, he was around 110, 120 kilograms, a big man, tall, big, and looked about my age. Later, it turned out he was 15 or 16 years younger. And I met this same person later, 2 years after that, and he told me on the phone, "You'll meet another person, it won't be me." And I was like that. I thought about it for a bit. I said, okay. Maybe he overdid it with some drug or something. That's what he likes, so be it. And he really did come to a person. A huge guy, about 70 kilos, came, who spoke in a completely different way, looked in a completely different way. And it turned out that he ended up in the jungle through his own ways. He managed to...
That somewhere, just tell this part about Peru.
This is in Peru, in the jungle. He goes there to look for his own experiences, to search, and he ends up meeting the wrong people who tried to take advantage of him, and then he ends up, let's say, meeting the right person, a healer, or he is a healer himself. Actually, someone who works, or a shaman as they call them, someone who works with, he is considered a tobacco shaman. He works with tobacco, that is, they gather wild tobacco from the jungle, which is not cultivated. You know, wild tobacco is collected from the jungle and brews are made from it. And this is a plant of power, and through it they heal. What do they heal? Mental conditions, physical conditions, mental conditions. They heal many things. I'm not very familiar. I can't say exactly what they heal. They also cleanse energetic connections. If there are energetic beings attached to us, they are also cleansed with this thing. You drink it and then you vomit. The sellers work, and
He gets there and there is...
well, he gets there, starts training with this person. One day he even asks him, "When will I be able to work with the plant?" And he says, "You know, when will you give me permission?" And he tells him, "I'm not the person who should give you permission. The spirits have to give you permission, and they'll give it to you when they decide." And so one day the spirits give him permission to work. He came here with the bruise. He invited me, and of course I was very hesitant, nervous, scared. I didn't want to try, but he insisted. He said, you'll throw up, just so you know. I said, it's fine, let's see, we'll throw up. What else can we do? Maybe we'll faint.
Just a second for you. Was this your first experience like that, or had you tried something else before you met this person?
Experiments with power plants? No, this was my first experience. Actually, 3 or 4 others gave up because they heard there would be vomiting and ran away. It wasn't very strict, but the vomiting was scary, and that's how it was. Then I remember you told me something that I couldn't quite... The way I was thinking and reasoning back then, I couldn't explain it to myself. It was that many people would disappear from your life. And I started asking scared questions. Maz, am I fighting with someone? Maz, am I breaking up with someone? He says, in heaven and the skies, you won't fight with anyone. It's just that things will develop in such a way that many people will simply disappear from your life. I couldn't understand this. I couldn't explain it to myself. But it's explained very simply. When you start vibrating at different frequencies, you don't fight. You don't do anything. You just stop looking for each other. You're no longer interesting to each other, and some people go in one direction others go in another, and naturally new people come along.
But then it turned out,
I was even worried. You got worried. Am I going to lose my friends or acquaintances or whoever? Because is it really like that someone is going to die? Someone asked, how can people just disappear from your life?
yeah, the beginning is probably strange and well,
It's nothing. We did the whole ceremony. Accordingly, we were vomiting there. We had to vomit. They sing shamanic songs there. The next day, I had a unique headache. I didn't want to see any light at all. But usually, I understood. I learned that later on. When I started having healing crises, meaning when you start clearing toxins from your body, you get these healing crises, which usually pass. The most common thing is going through a severe headache, which usually lasts about a day or two, and then it goes away. Back then, it lasted about a day, and so I waited. I waited there for a few days, thinking it would be like a magic wand from Leop, and my life would change. I waited a few days, something like that, and I just continued living my life the same way I had before. And just at that time, little by little, really, people started to disappear. I stopped seeing them. You make plans to meet once, twice, 3 times, and it always happens that you can't see each other, even though you want to meet, right?
yeah, and something always comes up.
Something happens and the meeting falls through, and that's how it goes. So that was my first date. Otherwise, a little before that, I had read this book, The Secret, and it got really interesting to me because I started reading about some things that were totally incomprehensible. And it was really very book. From the book itself, I discovered 2 or 3 books inside that they had used, to put together the smaller part, that is, the more concentrated information. Accordingly, I read them as well, and it was very interesting, and I decided to make one for myself. Back then, I had a dream. I bought myself a car. I wanted to do an experiment, and I put the whole thing in to see if it works. It turned out that it really does work. And accordingly, maybe it was also, they had received. Things like this are one thing, like when you do something for the first time as a beginner, right? And everything turned out like that, like some kind of magic, really. I wasn't ready with the money for the car when I was dreaming about it, and the car wasn't even being sold in Bulgaria. It had to be imported from the States, so there were many things.
And that was years ago. Now it's trendy. Everyone is importing from the States these days.
We're talking about the year 2009.
Yes.
It was a crisis in 2009, right? Everyone knows that.
There are no limits to desire.
Yes, but apparently there are no crises for desire.
There are no limits to desire.
There are no crises for desire. And that's how things happened. And from there, I started to get interested in that kind of information in literature. And I started to get interested also in the plants of power, as they are called.
Why do they call them that?
Well, I can't give a precise answer right now, because every plant has power. Some plants have much more power, and every land has its own plants. These plants that are used were once used by the Indians, like tobacco, like ayahuasca, even like marijuana, like coca, like leaves.
It's not
As processed already for completely different things. Peyote, in general, there are many plants that are used. We have something similar here in the form of herbs.
Yes, and our herbs, which are, if they are processed in the same way, for example, as shamans use it, because we know that they smoke, that's how they take these herbs. Do you think that would have the same effect?
For sure, no one can say for certain, but I suppose the Thracians worked with this thing, and the Proto-Bulgarians probably worked with it too. And not only did they heal, they probably had healers here too. There were knowledgeable people.
Priests?
Who they would enter some kind of state in order to meet with the spirits, right? To see certain things. And they did it through plants. What those plants were, at least personally, I haven't come across that information, which is sad because realistically speaking, we live on this land and we can't use our own plants, right? So that what? We have to use something from a completely different continent. The plants, right, in order to reach certain states.
In your opinion now, from your current point of view and with some experiences, such plants and this type of shamans, healers, priests, people who have worked with these kinds of elements, that is, what was their goal and what is the goal nowadays? Why did they do it this way? Why did they rely on these plants?
Well, that's their knowledge, man. I mean, I can't say now it's become very commercial. That's what I can say. Now, people make money from this thing, like with everything, like self-development books and so on. We know from all the information that's out there how much of it is false information, right? I'm not talking about all books. There are many valuable books. There are books that are even very hard to find.
Let me say something before that.
About the Toltecs, right? There's a series that can't be found on our market. I mean, they say it's out of print and you can't find it. Yes, exactly. And the shamans themselves, they were healers to me and they took care of the tribe. And they probably used all kinds of things to take care of the mentally ill, the physically ill, and so on. I mean, that was the goal back then, you know, at that time. Now the goal is a bit distorted.
A bit distorted?
Like everything, which is normal. But it's still an experience, some kind of thing to go through, something people might want to try.
I know about this rare series by Toltec. You told me about it back then and I checked it out. Even today, there's only one copy for sale at a really high price. I think it's the whole series and that's it. What's so special about this series? What stuck with you from it? Why is it so rare? Why is this knowledge a bit, well,
for me personally, at least that's how I see it. That's just my own opinion. The things that disappear, those are the valuable ones. Because what there is a lot of, obviously that's not it.
What is in abundance?
In abundance is not that valuable. I can't speak for the Toltecs because the Toltec teachings are unique. What I can say, my feeling is that since I listened to them on audio, you know, I didn't have the time to read them. But after a lot of searching, I managed to find them, at least to buy them, to have them in physical form.
It's very valuable to have that, especially for the times ahead.
Yes, and after that I tried to look for them for friends, and there just aren't any. I searched everywhere, Atta. There's a lot of wisdom inside, and everything that I had read and learned up to that point, and I reached it through the plants of power. For example, when I've had visualizations or things like that, things I've seen or heard, all of that seemed to be gathered in these 4 books. And what I can say is that for me, this is the foundation of all foundations, meaning everything has originated from there. The doctrines come from there, the foundations in general. It's very hard to explain. The first thing is that several years have passed since I got to know them. Then they were taken down. I mean, they were freely available and then they disappeared. Now, I don't know. It's possible they exist somewhere, maybe paid, but they're not freely available anymore. Because I've wanted to listen to them again, to go through that experience again.
It's kind of like a Bible, you know, for a changed life.
Absolutely, about the laws of the universe. All those things are written there. For example, let's say, because it's considered that the teachings are 60,000 years old, that is, this is the beginning of everything. And there, what I read at the beginning about the change of this point, it's very interesting because it's about changing the point of view. That's the easiest way to perceive it. And when you change your perception, which honestly isn't very easy, but it's not hard either, you just need to practice. And you see how at some point something you used to perceive as negative until yesterday. That is, if you change your perception of things and look at them from a different point of view, they can appear in an absolutely positive way.
How do you do it? Because in my communication with you, I've always been impressed that you're a very funny, cheerful person, but also happy and free. Despite many things that have certainly happened, you managed to keep that positive vibe.
If you try to accept things as they are, you don't fight with some illusion, windmills. If you try to accept things as they are, they just happen easily and with ease. There is one thing that I noticed happens to me sometimes, which is stronger than faith. What I know,
What are you explaining?
I know it's just, Omi, I can't tell you how to explain it, I just know. I knew that my first child, long before we even planned it, would be a girl, and it was a girl. For the second child, we had gone somewhere. My girlfriend at the time gave me a gift to go to an astrologer, and he says, you will have. And I say, a boy, I know. And he asks, how do you know you'll have a boy? He says to me, I don't know, I just know, I know. It's intense, and it's just an inner feeling.
How do you explain that if we dig a little deeper? Well, to be honest, it's from solid knowledge, not an illusion of the mind.
Well, solid knowledge. Well, where do we form it from?
Because it's difficult.
In my opinion, all the information is within us, and we all are. Maybe we all know it, but we don't realize it. Let's put it that way. All the information is within us. It's just that there are certain moments, at least that's how I explain it to myself, and certain situations that unlock some information for you for a moment, and you just have access to it. Yes, after a ceremony where they were stuffing me with information all night.
Wait, when you say stuffing me, how should we take that?
Not like that. Imagine a beam flowing from above with information, and that's it. I can't explain it. There just aren't words for these things. They can't be explained. Now I'll say this and then I'll say something else. So I can't explain this about the words. So imagine a beam of light and some kind of information is flowing through it all the time. Okay, what was impressive is that besides giving you information, at the same time they're also taking in information, meaning they're also gathering information.
In other words, it's an interaction.
I mean, there's interaction. Not only do they teach and give you information, but they also learn. They take in information as well. At one point, this thing, I was about to burst. I said, I have nowhere to put all this. And they said, just put it in. There's plenty of space there. Don't worry. 3 old things as needed. Old things, 3, just like that. 3 old things you don't need. 3 of everything old. And I start deleting them. And I imagine how, like in the Matrix, you know, we're all lined up like that, and I'm just sending them off somewhere to disappear. And at one point, though, I got scared and just stopped thinking, now, in a bit, I'll be begging to get out of this state. Yeah, I don't know who I am. Like, I've erased myself. So I don't know what I'm doing here or who I am. And I literally got scared. Yeah, but I'm telling you the whole thing. And after that, I tried to remember what that information was, and I was told, don't bother, because you don't have to read anything. Only when you really need it, and when the time is right, the information comes to you.
That's really cool.
I work this way, yes, I work with my hands, you know.
You know, you've got it.
No, I work with my hands, yes. I work with my hands. You are, thank you, that's right. I get to a point where I don't know what to do. I need help, and after 2 minutes I have a solution. Thanks again. I keep going. We're doing it. Yeah.
And I'm done.
This is something you can put in. For me, all of this that we're learning and the path we're walking. If a person doesn't put it into their life and live it, then it has no meaning at all. It's like having a huge library at home and not having read a single book.
That's very true, because then you go to one extreme, for example, only the spiritual or the intellectual or the energetic. And the other one, which is literally with our hands, because all of us in some way, some literally, others not, it really is you. That's why it's said, the ancient philosophers say, the more wisdom you gather, the more knowledge, the more sorrow. Unless you apply what's in the book, unless you use it, it's absolutely pointless.
And they are connected, both the spiritual and the physical. If someone thinks they can live only in the spiritual world, they can, but not with a physical body.
Mali,
you came here
like a ghost.
It's the same in the physical world, right? No matter how much we think we're firmly grounded, we always have this connection. It can't be broken in both cases. In my opinion, this is just my personal view. If you break the thread somewhere, everything just ends completely.
If you want to support everything we're doing on our channels, you can do so on PayPal, Patreon, or by becoming a member of the channel. We bow and thank you for giving us the meaning to continue creating consciously, to change, to grow, to improve, and to learn from each one of you. How is it applied? You explained really well how you use it every day. For people who, for example, are just now becoming aware of these connections, let's call it that, from your experience, what would you tell them to practice? And do you do anything to strengthen that connection even more? Any specific ways to see that, to experiment with it, to find out if it will work for you or not?
Well, I've tried all sorts of things myself to see if they work or not. Starting with the simplest things. First, we start with ourselves. I mentioned a little earlier, before we start to...
Please repeat it.
The only way to change the world is to change yourself. Because we are the ones who, by changing ourselves, can change the environment around us. In order to influence them, there is no other way. And I will give the simplest examples, like being an aggressive driver, as I was about 10 years ago. At one point, I sat down and asked myself, what's the point of this? What's the point? I came to you in April. The speed is between 90 and 110 on the highway. That's how I felt good.
Calm.
And I was driving completely normally. It didn't feel slow or anything. I mean, that doesn't mean I can't drive a bit faster, but there's no point, beyond that, it just kind of loses all meaning. So I started with the most basic things, with simple things. For example, I'm driving. People behind me often get annoyed with me for some reason, because I let one go, then after a while I let a second one go, then a third, and after a bit, a fourth. And from behind, I can already see how they start honking, getting annoyed, because you keep letting people go, yeah. But there hasn't been a case where I stop somewhere and someone doesn't let me go. That's never happened, Maybe the first one won't let you go, but the second one will. So why rush, right? Maybe the first, second, or third will let you go. Someone always does. The point is, someone just makes way for you, exactly the same way. I started finding parking spots for myself. I know now that I waited there. Even my girlfriend got annoyed with me at one point because she said, come on, go. I drive around here for half an hour and end up parking 2 or 3 blocks from home. But how many times do you come and park right in front of the door? Aren't you a bit cheeky, huh? I have a spot, man. I have a spot. Why shouldn't I park there? Subscribe. And with these, when you start with small steps, the small steps are the best because you prove to yourself that things work. When you prove to yourself that things work, they start happening on their own, then they start happening without you thinking about them, without you sitting there and overthinking. Will there be space? Will there not be? And if you ask yourself whether there will be space or not, there definitely won't be.
It's very unclear that you're saying it there.
I know that my place is waiting for me right now.
And how would you define that difference in mindset? Because it's a drastic difference for a lot of people.
Well,
Here it is.
what I said, faith and stronger than faith is knowledge. If a person is truly inwardly convinced that he knows, there's nothing to fear. Later, when you asked me about peace and so on, I met a priest, Mikhail, whom I met in a very interesting way, and he was leading such courses. And for example, he taught me to pray the Jesus prayer. He taught me how to pray, which he had developed as something between prayer and meditation with breathing, that is. Half of the prayer, most of the prayer is said on the inhale and the rest on the exhale. How can you imagine beforehand that you are drinking a sip of water, feeling how the water goes down to your heart, so that later it will be easier for you to imagine how it goes down to your heart? Because the idea is to breathe with the heart. When you inhale, it goes into the heart, and when you exhale, it comes out from the heart. And he gave us this as a task to do for a month. I tried to do it for 28 days. And honestly, I think it works perfectly because it calmed me down so much inside. And all those little devils that your mind is constantly talking about, doubting something, that buzzing that's always there. Everything just quieted down and I started to calm myself, and now whenever I need to.
You already know it?
Well, you know it, and I just get in the shower, for example, say a prayer.
It's already, once you've memorized it, it's great.
Of course, you know. But everything comes with practice and training. Nothing just happens. That's how it is. OP. Come on. And it might work once like it did with Kamaroto, right? But after that, no matter how many times I tried, it just didn't quite work out. Things, like what happened with the car. So it takes a lot of work, just like with anything else.
Subscribe. Where is the difference between truly receiving information, truly experiencing another world, another reality? And for example, when you start to meditate, you imagine things, but it's not real. It's just your own logical ideas of how it might look, but you're not actually there.
You understand. To be honest with you,
how do we tell the difference? How do I know since you've tried it?
Well, I can only tell by feeling, by an inner sense I feel which one is mine. When I started listening to you, for example, when I listened to the first podcasts, I said, hey, look at that Fagotino boy, young, see how he figured things out, see what interesting topics and so on. And I listen to you, there are others, I play them, I listen for 15 minutes and I just stop. You develop, and by the 15th minute, I can tell you whether there's something worth hearing or not. And I'm not saying this just because I'm here with you. It's really how it affects me. To this day, the last meeting was with the woman who talks about the kids because they're in a really bad situation with the names. Yes, Maya, yes, say hi to Maya, say hi to Maya. And no, I was listening to this, if I'm not mistaken, when I played it.
Sunday, now it's Sunday?
It's Sunday on the hour. In the morning.
So you do what you love, but you've dedicated yourself to constantly improving, to learning.
Well, if we stop trying to improve ourselves, if we decide that we know everything, we might know a lot of things, but if we think we know everything, then everything ends. That's the point. At the very least, it would be boring for you to sit here on this earth if you knew everything.
In your opinion, why? Why do we come here?
To experience, to be happy. At least that's why we come now. Whether we succeed is another question, right? Because many of us don't manage to do it. I can't say that I'm constantly happy, right? But let's say that I try to be happy and to some extent I succeed. But in my opinion, it's about experiencing. We experience. I don't even know if it's about learning or if the right thing is if we have all the knowledge. Do you think we have all the knowledge? If we know everything, what else is there to learn?
We just need to remember. A very good question, very well put.
Not to learn, but we need to remember what we've forgotten. And this whole thing is an experience. When you stop experiencing, you have no business being here anymore. In reality, we are in the physical body and on this earth so that we can experience this.
I really like how you keep saying experience with an ellipsis, and then you don't put a label on it to experience something specific, someone, something. No, you don't.
We have to experience everything, but when you set the boundaries. I just remembered something, yes, when you asked me and I told you that I can't explain it with words, yes?
Yeah.
I saw how it works. So basically, what the plants showed me is that hearing, taste, smell, and speech are filters. They are filters that are connected to the brain. They are tools, the eyes, yes, so all the visions and these filters as well. I saw it in a very interesting way, like imagine some metal cages that are filled inside with a living substance, which is perceived in different colors, and they are connected like a train.
Yes.
With one wagon, this thing comes out inside from the day when it's made for you this way. The molecules, that's just how I saw it, you know? I'm not claiming that's how it is. That's just how it was shown to me. So when you try to express this thing, it goes through that filter and comes out empty, empty, empty. They're no longer inside. The train is empty.
Colors, palettes.
The colors and such, some metallic shapes go by, like rectangles. And they come to you, enter your mind, and fill up again. I've always wondered what that is, and to this day I can't say 100% that I've explained it to myself. So, by expressing it, by putting it through the filter, you empty it of content or its vital content. Most likely it has content because it goes like some kind of composition. You know what I'm saying, you hear it.
Yes, it's a vibration and that's how we receive it.
But what you hear, I'm not 100% sure if it's exactly what I'm saying.
Because it comes out once already filtered, and then I
receive it through your
filter, I receive it through my own filtration, and
you put it back in again.
Life, I put it in, and only then does the next one come out.
Yes.
So that's it. In my opinion, that's one of the proofs, right?
And that's why I said that I can't explain it with words, because this, now for sure. I should be a professor to be able to explain this thing so that people can understand it. I don't understand it myself, you know, I've just seen it.
That's the nicest thing you've said right now, because we're not looking for professors, and on the other hand, we're all professors, we're all everyone. Because absolutely, you say it, you stand up and say it. I've experienced it, I can't explain it, I don't know it, but I've lived through it. That's the power. Why is it that someone can explain it to you, but can't experience it or show you how to experience it? What's the point of explaining it to you so thoroughly if that's the case? That's harsh. I really support exactly that. Even if we have experiences, we all have them. I've become convinced, especially in the past year with people where these topics never even came up, about what we do, about who we are. And you kind of get the impression that this person, since they're not in this field, because for us it's work, it's our daily life, they don't have those feelings, they don't have those experiences. It turns out that when they're comfortable and start to open up, they also have those kinds of experiences. They remember, they've been touched by them, just like me. That made me realize that everyone has experiences. However, most of us either twist things a bit or lie, or consciously ignore and manipulate them and put what we prefer in the foreground.
That's how it is, because everyone carries their own truth. But the point is, to a large extent, I mean, even in my opinion, many people don't understand their experiences, meaning they aren't aware of them, they don't know the way they act. He is in his own world, in his own universe, and for him that's okay. That's fine.
How do you explain what you just said? Because I agree with it, that everyone experiences things and has their own truth. How do you understand it?
I understand it.
That because someone might tell you the truth is only one?
There is one truth that has nothing to do with us. The other 8 billion truths are half-truths. Well, I don't know how to explain it. I think that everyone has their own truth. Now, I can't remember if I read it somewhere or saw it. It was explained very well. They bring a person into a movie theater, play his life for him, and he watches it. And he sees himself, recognizes himself, and sees his mother, his father, his brother, everyone who is around him. Great. They take him into the next theater, play his life again, but this time through his mother's eyes, and he can't understand what's happening. This has nothing to do with his own life. Then they take him into a third room and show it through his brother's eyes, nothing to do with his own life. Well, the simplest explanation is that each of us, we all live in a whole. But at the same time, each of us is an absolutely individual universe on our own, and maybe that's where the ego comes from. Now, I can't really say for sure, but there's a big key in that, because that's where misunderstandings between people and all those things come from, because everyone pulls in their own direction. He's right in his own universe. Everything is fine for you, but it doesn't suit you. Why would he care? There, when it came to letting people through, that's how I imagined it, because every time I let people cross, like pedestrians, for example, or cars. Sorry for changing it like that. I just imagine it quickly. Tomorrow I'm in his place, right? I'm him. I'm in his place tomorrow. And now, when I let him through, Mom, I'm letting myself through. But look at it. See how it is. It's just so simple and brilliant.
You've realized this thing.
It's not about realizing it. Just think about it a bit. There's so much to realize, like the fact that tomorrow you could be in his place. You'd be foolish to think you won't need someone to let you in somewhere tomorrow, or that you won't hit a dead end.
No, but just like it is on the highway, that's how it is in life.
But it's the same everywhere.
That's the connection to be made.
But everything is one, and the one is everything. It's been said in simple words. Another wise Greek man before Christ said it too, that it can't be divided. How did he say it? They kept repeating it to me one night, the plants, all night long. Man, everything is one in the one, everything is one and the one is everything. Write it down, but how do you get rid of it? I searched and was told to write it. I'm digging around on some napkins, that's how it all is, just to write it down. Should I not forget it? I have no idea. And it took me a lot of time.
To understand what it means?
It's very deep.
It's
very deep. Even now I can't say it's infinite, it's infinite. It means so many things, both in people's relationships and in this. Everything is created this way. Wherever you think, in the cosmos, and the molecule, the cosmos, the one is everything and everything is one. It applies to everything and everyone.
It's very beautiful, it really is.
And I found it, was it half a year? How long after that did I plant it? I had written this thing down one day, I read it, and I said to myself, hey, I can't remember this. So I typed it into the internet, and boom, it comes up as a quote from a philosopher from, was it 600 years, 900 years before Christ, mentioned with the name, the year, everything.
And that's information, this is information.
It's exactly the same.
I wanted you to tell me about ayahuasca.
About Ayata.
Ayata from A to Z.
How will I tell you from?
Because this is very interesting, especially Bulgaria. Personally, we are not many people, it's a close circle, and that's why.
Many people travel to Latin America to meet ayahuasca because it's there.
For what purpose? I mean, what's the idea behind it?
Well, the way it was explained to me, basically, it's about the plants of power. It's that yes, in order to understand maybe some things, or I don't know if understand is the right word exactly. But for example, if you need to achieve, let's say, a certain state through meditation, prayer, yoga, some other exercises, and so on. The plant is kind of like you're walking there on foot, and the power plants. It's like getting on the fast train and you get from point A to point B much faster. That's how it was explained to me.
You say, okay, that's nice, interesting.
In general, I'm already experimenting with myself, with my body, and I decided that I should try to see what it's all about. Accordingly, the first times were just getting to know and fumbling back and forth. I wasn't really sure what was happening. Vivi.
That's what the ceremony itself is.
The ceremony itself is.
People gather.
Yes. There is a person who leads the ceremony, usually shamans from Latin America or from Spain who gather you. It usually depends on the tradition, as there are various traditions and approaches. Some are with fire. They make a fire inside the room. I mean, a fireplace, or there has to be some kind of fire. Yes, there are. Some are with music, others are in silence. There are some that are in total darkness. There shouldn't be any light at all. And these are already different traditions. And I can't speak only from, the things I've experienced. Yes, you've experienced. There aren't any recipes here and so on. Everyone experiences different things, sees different things. Personally, I prefer to go in with complete trust. I try as much as possible to let go of control, because the more a person holds on to control, the harder it is to make the connection. With the plant, I try to let go of control and trust it. That's my formula. I let go of control and trust the plant completely. I have some intention inside, something I go in with, something I want to understand, or a problem I want to work on. And the plant does the rest of the work. How long? Sometimes it's through visualizations, or I mean,
You see images?
you see all kinds of images and so on. Other times you receive information as if someone is talking in your ear, so to speak, or more like through thoughts. Yes.
More like you hear thoughts?
It's more like you hear thoughts. And they can appear to you in any form, like as a plant, as a tiger, as a monkey, as a snake. Very often it happens as a tree. I've experienced it from a seed. That was the second time. When I was a seed, I became a huge tree. Oh, I was growing. I just became, and the whole time you feel like, man, you are the tree. I don't know how to explain it.
You experience being the tree?
You experience being the tree, the strength of the tree.
The weight.
The density, the creaking even from the wind. That movement when there's wind in the tree. And then slowly, I withered, decayed, and once again turned into earth. And this whole thing is experienced.
Everything and everything is one.
From where it starts, that's where it returns.
And in this sense, going somewhere, leaving for somewhere is...
A cycle. Everything is connected to the cycle.
It's very vivid.
For example, once someone asked me, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? Can you say, if you barely have something like that?
We come right after whatever meaning you give it, because even everything else is just a label.
That's what they told me. It makes no sense.
There's no point,
He who gives meaning to his life.
Because everything after the meaning of life is already half a life, or just something from life. In my opinion, that is, the meaning of life has many points, as you said, why we are here, to experience, to develop, to unfold the knowledge of the whole. Some would say But the other thing is, for example, everyone.
In my opinion, sorry to interrupt you, everyone, I think, comes with some potential and everyone should develop their potential. I, Mike Tyson, can't possibly suffer in another life, in another reality. But let's talk about here.
About here and now.
About the moment we're living in. You know, I, Mike Tyson, can't become someone else, right? But I can be myself and experience myself as the best version of myself. And that's the only way it can happen, to sit and develop yourself and to want to remind yourself of what you really are so you can experience it in the best way possible. Just like, for sure, Mike Tyson, if he comes, he could never do what I do.
And of course, because you are.
Because I will do what you do, right? Right? That's it. Even though we are all one, that's the beauty of life, that we are all at the same time one and super individual, and everyone does their own thing. It's like a perfect anthill, right? I watch them. I really love observing ants, man. How do these ants walk in a line one after another? You develop like an orchestra, and it's like the whole thing is like a symphony.
Thank you. Yes.
It's the same with bees. And in general, there is nothing. Everything is so perfect. And just imagine what created it, right? Whatever we call it, because everyone likes to call it in a different way.
It's just a label, as we said, man.
Yes, the limitation is, well, the label is like a container, but it serves as a limitation.
At the moment, it's just like that.
It is, yes, it is what it is. Just imagine what perfection it is and what beauty it is, how we forget to enjoy that beauty. To look at every single blade of grass. Yes, the fact that you woke up in the morning, your eyes are a bit sticky, but you're still here and you're there, you know. You hear the neighbors scraping their chairs, so they're there too, you know. It's not a dead silence.
Yes.
And in general, these are super simple things that we should smile at every day. By the way, I just found, at the end of last year, I found 2 notebooks. Yes, from 2018, 2019, and 2020. If I'm not mistaken, for 3 years I wrote down every morning something I was grateful for, whatever came to mind. I haven't read them yet, you know, 3 years, every day. Maybe I missed a few days here and there because I haven't looked at them in detail. But with the gratitude, I say, okay, this is 2020 now, it's 2024, and I stopped doing this thing. Why did I stop doing it? And why? Well, I can't tell you. And then I started doing it again. And from 2025, from January 1st until now, maybe I've missed a day or two, but I don't have a day that because sometimes things get so busy that I really forget. And I want to write it in the morning.
Yes, even before the whole chaos.
Before, I mean, I get up between 5 and 6 by myself. That's how I taught myself here about 67 years ago. I got used to it. I get up by myself in the morning. I go to bed early because after 10:30, a lot of sleep time is already lost. Instead of dreaming sweet dreams, I have these action-packed dreams, man, and my routines are always like that and feel so real. Yeah, right, I don't remember anything. More than the case with dreams, the Toltecs have a very strong connection with dreams.
Yeah.
They have very strong work and a dream within a dream. There is already the great master bow, right? I started writing again and thanking myself for everything that is, for what is not, because we should be grateful for that too.
Yes, yes.
To affirm that I am who I am, and just, yes, thank you. And sometimes now I think about the kids, about my mother, about my father, about someone else, about friends. For the people who are around me, who support me, the people who work with me, for the clients, for everyone I know, for those I don't know, because they will come one day. Yes?
Of course, right.
If our paths don't cross.
For everyone who just listened to your wonderful story and your personal view of the world. If everyone on the planet could hear you right now, what would you say to them?
Not to forget that the whole planet is working for them. I can explain it.
Go ahead.
So, look, you hold this pen and you write with this pen. Someone assembled this pen. Thanks to him, you write. Someone made the spring, someone made the tip, someone filled it with ink. Someone produced the ink before that, someone invented or produced it before, someone produced the plastic, and so on and so on. They extracted Petrova from the earth, yes, to make the plastic. The whole planet works for each one of us, all the people in the world. Just for that, a person should be grateful. Everything will just be easy.
Nace, thank you very much for this wonderful participation.
Thank you too. It was an honor for me.
Hello, thank you very much for watching another episode of Research Reality. Subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future. Leave a thumbs up, we won't be mad at you. Share it with your friends, become members of the channel, because the more the better. Thank you for walking together with us toward a true awakening, an awakening of each one of us from the illusion that surrounds us. Thank you to each one of you for your support, for your perseverance, for your patience, for your understanding, for your honesty, for the change. See you soon.